This is the new podcast.
This is the new podcast. This is the new podcast. What is the
Podcast.
new podcast?
So
We have decided to rebrand
yeah,
to all. I'm sure we have maybe 20 listeners tops.
yeah,
Trying to get
generously.
Generously, 20 listeners tops.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think we are gonna rebrand this podcast as the Tin Pan Podcast, which makes much more sense.
Especially on the interwebs.
but also here's what I was thinking, and why this makes sense for us to rebrand the podcast, especially right now,
Yeah, I'm listening.
because we are kind of getting very close to being fully reopened in the theater
Oh,
with our
my
maximum
gosh.
amount of people.
Yes.
This is very, very true.
So technically, we are not the small town film ghosts anymore. We are
Right.
not sitting in an empty
Yes,
theater that
yeah,
people can't come in
yeah.
anymore.
Very true.
Absolutely.
So ultimately, let's say that's the reason why
Yes.
we're rebranding.
We are just branding the hell out
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
out of us and the theater
Yeah.
and
We're reminding ourselves what we actually were the whole time.
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
You know,
And if we can move inside fully, then hey,
This-
we're back.
Yeah, you know, it's like we briefly went abroad and we were sort of discovering ourselves in
Yeah.
Europe, and now we're back on campus and we're
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
I think
This is us.
I had that time to experiment, but I really got to focus on my
Yeah.
studies now.
Yeah.
The thing I just want everybody to take away from this is that the small town film ghosts were actually the friends we made along the way.
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, and we did make a few friends.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Well, welcome to the podcast, everyone. We're glad you're here and listening. As usual, we're going to talk about the movies that are playing at Tin Pan, the movies that are coming up, and the things that we're playing both inside and outside. A little bit later in today's show, we're going to do a deep dive on one of the B horror films that we have coming up next week as part of our Outside Alleyway B horror film series. A movie specifically called City of the Dead, but hopefully you already knew that because hopefully we titled the podcast that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't realize that you and I watched the first half of City of the Dead.
We did.
Yeah.
I also did, and we'll get into it deeper later. But I did watch this movie a couple weeks ago with friend of the show Janet Wilshire from Out Central Oregon,
Oh, nice.
and I had a
Okay.
blast watching with her a couple weeks ago. But yeah, we're gonna talk about it just to if you are unaware of the outdoor movie series we're doing or have heard about it, this will sort of give you a little bit of a preview and understanding of the kind of movies that we're playing for it, and hopefully get you excited if you have been thinking about coming out. Hopefully this will encourage you to come down based on our conversation.
Yes, and we should mention that our theater is safe, it is clean, and it is warm and friendly and inviting, and we're so excited to see our 16 seats at full.
It
at some
feels
points.
we've done I think two showings now that we have had 16 people
Yes.
inside, and it
Yeah.
feels it feels both safe and packed at
Yes,
the same time.
yeah, yes, and 16 is packed for us
Yeah.
because we have not seen 16 people in here in
Yeah.
a year and a half.
It's
Yeah.
technically half capacity,
Oh.
but I mean, when I was realizing that like the Truffle Hunters showing last Sunday was 16 people, I was like, oh god, I gotta get ready behind the bar, like I'm gonna be serving a whole bunch of drinks and
Here we
popcorn.
go. Yeah.
When 2 years ago that was like 16 people, whatever.
Yeah.
Like when
And
you
then
actually have 32 people
You're like,
that all want a beer, you're just like,
You're like, sit down. I will call out your
Yeah.
drink
Yeah,
and your
yeah.
popcorn.
And you're like, every time someone walks in, you're like, oh, I'll be with you soon.
Yeah.
Just don't come up yet.
yeah,
One
just
second.
stay over there. God, just oh my god. The movie started 4 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I hope you don't care about the trailers that
Yeah,
are playing.
Yeah.
Sit.
Yeah.
Oh boy, no, that hasn't. I'm way out of practice.
Yeah.
Really.
So we've had 16.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, I think one for sure.
Okay. Was it Truffle Hunters?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Truffle Hunters. I think I was mixing up the most recent outdoor movie, which had a lot of people
Nice.
this last Tuesday, which was a great hit.
Okay.
I was worried that there was going to be rain coming down this
Yes.
most recent Tuesday, but it went off without a hitch.
Okay,
it was a great time.
No
I'm so
drips.
glad.
Wonderful.
No little
No drips. Yeah, it was
It
amazing.
mostly cleared out, but by then, so.
Good.
Yeah, that was good. So yeah,
Speaking of truffle hunters,
Speaking of Truffle Hunters, yeah, we're in the midst of closing out a week of a couple movies, and we got some movies coming up this Friday, which is the 28th, I believe. If today is Wednesday the 26th, if you want
Yes.
to timestamp when we're recording this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been playing Truffle Hunters. It's still been a great hit. We're going to continue playing it. So if you have heard about this movie or want to see it, or maybe if you've seen it already and you want to bring some friends out to it, because it feels like that kind of movie that we played at Tin Pan.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got at least 3 showings of it coming up this coming week.
Yep. And are we rolling it over to virtual? I don't remember.
Truffle Hunters
Yes.
or no?
No, we're not.
They
Okay.
I've every movie that I've booked in the last like 6 weeks, I've been like, hey, can we also get this virtually?
Yeah.
And they've been like, no.
A lot of
Never again.
distributors
Haha,
are-
no.
Yeah, literally
that
no
was
chance.
It's not 2020.
Yeah, laughing
Yeah.
in my face. Yeah, I tried to get
Makes sense.
our 2 that we're opening Friday virtually as well, and they just won't
And
do
that's
it.
kind of my argument. Like, I kind of got into it with someone on Facebook about how streaming is the norm now and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, tell that to our distributors who won't let us have some of these
Yeah.
films virtually,
Right,
because
right.
they are strictly going for theatrical.
Yeah, one of my favorite writers, Alyssa Wilkinson over at Vox, I read an article from her a couple of weeks ago, basically saying like she went and interviewed a lot of people, and there is this general sentiment of people want to go back to the theaters specifically for, or one of the biggest reasons why is for that sense of loss of control. That like
Okay.
because everyone's been used to watching movies at home on their own systems, and like they can be interrupted by things. They can, they'll just start scrolling their phone or something like that. There's a lot of people out there, I think, want to go back to movie theaters because they know it's an environment where everyone is just focused.
Well,
on,
yeah, I
and
mean,
you
as a
can't
as a
distract
film
yourself.
critic, because I've read a lot of film critics right now who are dying to get out of their houses because they do not like watching films on their computer.
On their computer,
Mhm.
yeah.
And they want to be in the theater because, like you said, no one's on their phone. There's not kids screaming in the background.
Yep.
There's not
Right.
your cat's not in your face. Like
right.
your dog's not wanting to go out. Like,
Yeah.
so
I think.
do you feel that way?
Yeah, and I think Friday in particular is going to be the big test because Friday
for us.
No, for
For all movies.
for all movies.
Because this is Memorial Day.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
weekend. This
and
is the opening.
it's A Quiet Place too,
That's
Yep.
which
right.
is specifically more than
Yep.
I literally can't think
It's the movie that tests what movie these are for more than anything else.
more than any like I can't think of a movie that literally showed you what movie theaters were for since the first one came out.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
the way that movie played the way it did because you were in a packed house with a room full of strangers. So it'll be really interesting to see if people can still just kind of ease into that again.
Yeah.
Will people be so freaking excited to be in a theater that they can't keep quiet for an hour 40 or
There is nothing like it.
Yeah, what's funny is I feel like there's 2 different movie experiences that you generally have. Sometimes it's the one where everyone's invested in the movie and everyone's paying attention, and sometimes there's experiences where people are talking through movies and it isn't bad, and
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
it kind of like adds to the experience,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
sometimes a hit or miss. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. And so I'm curious to see how willing people might be to just be like, okay, we're all on board, engaged, or we're gonna like engage with this. movie.
Yeah. I remember the last big one like that I saw where everybody was equally mocking a film and everybody was into it was X-Men: The Last Stand.
Yeah.
Was just
I
so
remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah, 2006.
Everybody in the theater was like fully behind. Like, wait, did Cyclops just get killed off screen?
I remember having a similar feeling when I saw X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh,
Within the
God.
first 5 minutes, I realized it was a terrible movie. It's like,
Yeah.
now, because I've already paid this money, I have to just
Okay,
dunk on
okay,
this
but
movie.
what about Endgame? Okay, remember Endgame?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like everybody at the end, that whole end
I mean,
scene,
that was like
everybody-
cheering. Like,
Yeah,
that was just like every time
Yeah.
one of the superheroes came out, it was so
Mm-hmm.
interactive. The audience was just like, yes,
Yes,
yes.
that was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was 10 years of build up.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God,
10
you
years
know.
ago,
So that is what we go to movies for. A Quiet Place is what we go to the movies for.
Yeah.
I was this morning when I was on YouTube this morning remembering my experience with Blair Witch Project.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I saw it before a lot of people saw it because I got to go to a premiere
Did you
Nice.
see it before or after Sixth Sense? Because that was the same summer.
before. And the it was a live event. This is why I like live film events because of Blair Witch. This is where I got my start. And I was in college and I had to do these events. But the news was there, so it was acting like at the theater, like basically really acting like this whole thing actually happened.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Like it was an
Okay.
actual document.
Yeah, there wasn't cell phones back then.
Right.
Nobody had a smartphone in the audience. There
Right,
wasn't
right.
any of this going on. There was a tent at the the bottom of the screen,
Yeah.
and before the film started, the light turned off in the tent.
Oh.
No lights, no concessions, nothing, and the movie freaking starts. Guess who didn't sleep for 3 weeks after that? Me.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
insane.
Okay,
That's
that's
insane.
what a movie is supposed
Yeah.
to do.
That's a story to
yeah.
tell your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want a weird fun fact about Blair Witch? It's not about Blair Witch. So Josh, the guy that played the
Josh!
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah.
Uh,
threw it in the river.
yeah,
Kick the map in the river.
Josh, he's married in real life to Alison Pill.
Oh,
Okay.
that's funny.
Which just blows my mind. They just had their like 5th or 6th or 8th wedding.
I don't think
anniversary.
any of them are acting anymore.
The girl from it, she runs a weed
A
farm.
weed farm in Oregon
Yeah.
or Washington.
Or maybe Northern California.
Yeah.
And he had a movie in BendFilm last
did.
year.
He
and
did.
that
I
he
remember
wrote.
hearing about that.
He wrote, directed, and starred in,
Thank
and it
you
was
for
in my
reminding me.
and it was in my top 10 movies of the year last year. It
Okay.
was so good.
Okay.
It's great. It's called Perfectly Rational People or some shit like that.
Okay.
I'll look it up before this
Okay.
podcast is over.
Okay.
But the perfect concept of a couple in their 30s who are like, oh God, we're pregnant. We need to evolve into,
Better people.
better people before the kid comes. And the the wife's idea of it is, I would like to peg you. And the husband's idea of it is, I've never been in a fight, so I want to get in the face. And that's literally the plot of the movie. Is
Okay.
like
I love that,
Yeah.
super low stakes, but
Yeah.
ridiculous.
the
like,
lowest stakes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is-
So,
is really
how
insane.
did you choose what's coming up this weekend? How did you get it? How did you did you watch the trailers for Killing Two Lovers and Riders of Justice? Or
Yeah, I've watched the trailers for both. I've now actually seen The Killing of Two Lovers since Monday, and it's phenomenal. Like it's very, I believe, painterly would be the best
Nice,
description for
nice.
it. Like every frame is really gorgeous. And I've watched about 20 minutes of Riders of Justice, and yes, it's a really bad name. It's a really bad name, and
but it looks so Danish.
it looks very Danish. It is very Danish, but it's also got a terrible, terrible poster that looks
Yeah.
like a direct to DVD Steven Seagal poster.
Totally.
Like it really does.
Once I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, this is there's a certain type of Scandinavian thriller,
Yeah.
and it falls right in.
It's
now,
in there,
like,
yeah.
your classics like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo or
Sure.
whatever. But like, yeah,
Is there
the
a lot of
poster
coffee
is.
drinking?
There
A lot of
is
drinking
actually.
coffee, yeah.
But for me, the thing it connected to me with the most is there's this great movie from, I'm going to say, about 7 or 8 years ago called In Order of Disappearance.
Yes. With
with
Stellan.
Stellan Skarsgård, and they remade it into Cold Vengeance with
Liam Neeson.
Yeah, and it's great too. It's the best
I've-
Liam Neeson
I've-
movie.
I've
in
heard-
the
I've heard that
last,
one's good, yeah.
15 years. But it reminded me a lot of that because it's got this really, really,
There's like a dark humor to it.
really
right?
dark
Yeah,
humor to
yeah.
it. But also the action is legit, like bone crunching, badass action.
Got it. Yeah, I was also thinking of Headhunters, the
Yeah,
one with
It's a,
with Jamie
Jamie
Lannister.
Lannister. Yeah, totally.
Jamie Land. Yes.
Yeah, that was a great.
I love
Headhunters.
Headhunters.
Was so good.
Like
He's
that was
a great
that was one of the
actor.
first after the success of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, that was like one of like the first imitators,
Right.
quote unquote.
right,
But it was also like a solid movie.
It's a really good movie. Yeah.
What common themes do Danish films have besides drinking coffee?
Existentialism. There's always existentialism in literally in every Danish movie I've ever
Okay.
seen. in
The
my life.
long winters and long summers of
Oh
Scandinavia.
Yeah,
man, the
yeah.
winters.
I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like somebody usually masturbates.
Okay.
There's usually at least one masturbation scene.
Okay.
Also, knowing that they have great healthcare. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's usually always a shot of blood on snow. There really is.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
Like,
Yeah,
like
Okay.
it's a
it's a
thing.
good image.
It's a great
Yeah.
it's one that really doesn't get old. Either.
And sometimes that blood is written into "I gave you all the clues, Mr. Policeman."
Mr. Policeman. Oh
bad
my God.
movie. Bad movie.
Dude, it is a bad movie, but it should be seen by everyone.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
it really
I've been
should.
meaning to. I need to watch The Snowman.
The Snowman. Have you seen The Snowman, Julie?
No, I have not seen this.
So what's great is what's his face? Fassbender. His character's name in that movie, like if you look at it, it looks like it's Harry Hole.
Okay.
HARRYHOLE. Harry Hole. Okay, but his character's supposed to be Danish, which you can't tell from watching the American version of the film. It's pronounced hula. Hula.
Okay.
So, but so like, it's like here comes Harry Hole, like the whole movie, and you're just like, this is really.
Was he naked in it? Because he.
Dude, he
tends
does.
to
I
be
mean,
naked,
you got to
He
see
does.
Fassbender's fast boner.
Oh,
Have-
I've seen it.
Okay, so can we talk? Let's talk about this for a second.
I promise everyone we are talking talking in reference to
we are.
things. That,
All of this is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
All of this
This
is
It
is
is.
important.
important because I do want you to mention Killing of Two Lovers.
Yeah,
as well,
I would.
so.
Yeah, but first, while we're talking about
Fassbender's
Bender, let's say actor nudity. There's a thing that I like to call the lion shot in movies, which is when you see the backside of a famous actor's balls, the reverse side of their balls, right? The back of the side that they don't see, right? And so there's this one.
I'm definitely gonna have to mark this episode as not for kids.
Okay. There's this one actor
SFW.
who drops a lion shot in, I'd say, 2 out of every 3 of his movies, and that is, of course, Viggo Mortensen.
Okay.
The man.
Yeah, makes sense.
The man shows the lion shot all the time. And so I'm wondering if Viggo and Fassbender like sat down and they were like, okay, let's see between the two of us how much, because like if you watch History of Violence and then Eastern Promises, back to back, you see Viggo Mortensen back to back.
Not in Lord of the
to
Rings.
back. To back.
Eastern Promises has got Viggo Mortensen's best naked knife fight that he's ever done.
ever done. I mean, that movie has at least twice as much taint as any other movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
I absolutely love that
So,
movie.
speaking of
That's a
Jared
really good
Leto,
movie. Yeah. God
I'm sorry.
damn it. I'm still
You know
so
it's coming.
bummed.
That's how we get you back on track,
You know
Jared.
it's coming.
Yeah, speaking of Jared
You know
Leto.
it's coming.
Uh,
Speaking of Jared Leto.
I'm so sad they never made a sequel to Eastern Promises. Like, they were like weeks away from starting that. And
It's also just I don't know. It's such a great movie that like I don't necessarily need one, but I
Well,
understand. Like,
But he did the Green Book, and
yeah.
I kind of feel like he was miscasting. Does anybody else feel that way?
to some extent, I don't really want to get into a Green Book conversation.
No.
I
You
will-
don't have to. So,
Yeah.
Killing of Two Lovers.
Yes,
Yeah,
let's do that. Let's do that.
The thing I think people are gonna like about The Killing of Two Lovers a lot is that it feels like there's basically it's without getting into too many details, because there's the way the story is told is more mysterious than like what it's actually about.
I guess more about like feelings than anything.
Yeah, and tone. Like, it's a big tone movie. But it's basically like a husband thinks his wife's cheating on him, and then it's kind of like what he decides to do after that.
Well,
you know.
Yes, and they are separating or separating.
Yeah. But it's also, there's some nonlinear storytelling to it, so I don't want to get into it too
Yeah.
much. But the way the story is told, you almost don't even know, like almost in the same way that like The Father is that you almost don't even know what kind of movie it is. Like,
Okay.
like is this going to end up being a thriller? Is this going to end up being
That's cool.
violent? You know, is this just going to be drama and meaning as opposed to like something physical?
But we want to say these two films are the essence of Tin Pan.
They really are.
They really are. This is who we are.
Yeah,
when
great.
you think of us, and when you think of coming to see these type of films,
Mhm.
this is what we want you to come see.
We got critically lauded Sundance hit and foreign film subtitled
Yeah.
thriller.
Yeah.
Like
Bleak, brutal comedy. Yeah. But I mean, but in a way, like, I agree with what you just said, big time, Julie. But also, it's because it's been so long since we've shown these kind of movies. Because I feel like since we've reopened, a lot of the choices that we've made. Well, I was gonna say a lot of the choices we've made have been kind of safe as opposed to what we've been showing.
Sure.
But also, we're kind of just showing what has been
available.
Like, it's
yeah,
not even.
that's true.
Whereas, like,
True.
the two that we're opening on Friday are like, yeah, there might not be an audience for these movies, but these are the right movies for Tin Pan
It
to
is.
be showing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you were new to town and you looked up what the local art house cinema is and you see that we're playing these two movies,
Right.
I know I would be like, oh great, this is definitely the place I'm going to come to in the
Oh,
future.
for
Right,
sure.
right,
For
right.
sure.
That's when we were discussing what movies to book for Friday on Monday. That was kind of my pitch to Todd was, A Killing of Two Lovers might not be a million butts in the seats kind of movie, but we would be the only theater showing a movie of this kind, an adult relationship drama.
Carving out ourselves a corner. Finding some space that's not being filled and filled.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. And we're excited to see. I can see tickets already being sold. So getting emails and calls about it. So it's great.
Good.
So cool.
So please come out.
Yeah.
And we'd love to see you this weekend and beyond. We are. We always get this weird like rain or snow at the end of May, and then Memorial Day weekend comes, and we are just. For me, summer starts on June 1st. We're going to be rocking and rolling this summer, inside, outside, podcasting, everything that we do, and it all rolls up to our festival in October.
It's going to be a big summer, guys.
It's going to be an amazing summer, guys.
Best summer ever.
Oh my god. Hey,
And
I have a while we're still talking about like current events at the theater, let's talk about why we think no one came to see Street Gang.
I wasn't actually gonna necessarily admit that no one came, but
why not? But I mean, why not? Because it's something that we should. Because you would think a movie about something that it's so nostalgic.
Just to give a little context, 2 weeks ago we opened up a documentary called Street Gang: How We Got to Sesame Street.
Right.
It's a documentary about how Frank Oz and Jim Henson created the Muppets and then eventually Sesame Street.
Yes, and I think my first thought is I wonder if adults read the title and thought it was for kids and didn't take the time to click on it and watch the trailer.
Yeah.
And what I would love to do in the future on our site is have a live trailer going on. So that, and right at the top.
Do we not have links to the trailers on?
We have links to the trailers, but not like an automatically playing.
Oh,
trailer.
Yeah, like
I
going,
see.
like,
I see. Okay,
and so that would be like, and a trailer going on our social media and our, going. And so that, I mean, it just, videos are better than pictures.
Always.
For sure.
Every time.
Completely agreed. That's honestly something I had not thought about because I was thinking things like, maybe just people saw the Street Gang and didn't read the full title. Or
Right.
Maybe
like, Jesus, that
or
sounds
they
bleak.
really thought it was about gangs.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
And they were like, nope.
Well, so
and they just kept scrolling.
So, but have we actually said? So we opened this movie 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And literally have not had one
Zero.
single person come see the movie.
Not one.
Not one.
Which is really,
Can I
really-
tell you? I talked to the distributor yesterday, and they were like, "So, how's the turnout for Street Gang?" And I was like, "Well, not great. Nobody's come to see it yet." And I have never had a response like this from a distributor in 8 years.
Yeah.
That's ... unfortunate.
So
That's
professional.
unfortunate. He was like, "Are you holding over?" And I was like, "Probably not." And I told him, and he was like, "That's unfortunate." Yeah, I would say holding over is not the way to go
and
here.
it's very possible that in his mind too, he was like, well, there wasn't enough marketing done
Yeah,
for
something
it.
like that.
And
Yeah.
you know what? But it's back on them too. Because let's assume that a lot of this was, publicly funded by grants or whatever, because
Sure.
Sesame Street is the pinnacle of grant money
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
yeah, totally.
It's been
Yeah.
running on grant money
Yeah.
for how many years?
Right.
They didn't do a lot of marketing for
He
it.
actually, when he gave me, I didn't tell anybody this, but when I initially booked this movie several weeks ago, he even said, "Just to warn you, turnouts haven't been great for this."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Really? Why?" And he's like, "I genuinely have no idea." I guess the thing that confuses me the most is that right now, because of COVID, quarantine,
Yep.
the last blockbuster, all of that shit, nostalgia is a cash cow right now.
Definitely.
And for some reason, it didn't
It is,
connect
but
to
also
this
high
movie.
entertainment is as well.
like big
Okay?
budget.
We're
giant
missing a lot of
stuff.
these. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
big budget. People are ready. People are
Yeah.
ready for Army of the Dead. People
Right.
are
Fast
ready
9,
for.
Fast and the Furious 9 is going to be so big.
Ugh.
Like I feel like it's going to be the biggest one.
It's going to be a big one. For sure.
I mean, I think it's going to be the
Speaking of
biggest
Fast
one
and
we've
the Furious.
biggest one we've had in a year and a half.
Makes
I
sense.
think. I don't know.
Well, let's wrap up this segment
Yeah.
and say
Okay.
goodbye to Street Gang
Oh my
and
God.
Truffle
We're-
Hunters and hello.
well,
We're not
Two.
getting rid of Truffle Hunters
Oh,
anytime
Truffle-
soon.
yeah. So,
Well,
it's on its way out.
yeah,
but
it's on it. Yeah.
I mean, if we're still gonna get 16 people,
Hey,
let's
Hold
keep
it
that.
over.
Keep
it makes
that shit as long
sense as a
Okay.
tin pan hit for
Yeah.
sure. So
Well-
this Friday we are opening up The Killing of Two Lovers as well as Riders of Justice.
Riders of Justice.
come on and do a double feature if you can.
Yeah. It'd be great.
Yeah, again, we think that these movies are totally within Tin Pan's wheelhouse, so we encourage you
Yeah,
to go
yeah.
on, look at the trailers, see which one you want to go see, and then we are also holding over Truffle Hunters, this beautiful Italian documentary about
Yes.
Italian men and their dogs.
And then we've closed the Billie Holiday documentary.
That was a week ago.
Yeah, we didn't record a podcast then.
I guess
so,
not. Yeah.
We closed that, and we are officially closing The Father.
Yeah,
correct?
the father will be closed by the time this podcast airs,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and so will Street Gang. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Street Gang.
All right.
Street Gang
Wonderful.
got.
You got.
Yeah.
Ba-ba-ba-bum. Lion shot.
Yeah, lion shot.
Christopher Lee. Hey everybody, welcome back. We are now.
Egos balls. So,
Now everyone, welcome back.
yeah. Now everybody's really welcome back.
yeah, everyone's really back.
Yeah.
Now we are going to talk about City of the Dead, which is going to be the newest movie that plays during our classic B horror film series, Outdoors in the Alleyway in Tin Pan Alley. This is the maybe second or third time we've been doing the classic B horror films. We first did this series last year, when we were trying to figure out new series all the time. But this is maybe the first time we're really bringing it back in full force with a full schedule and a really calculated and planned schedule for movies.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we kind of wanted this to be similar to the spaghetti westerns that we've done in the past. It's fun to do new retro series that hopefully can be something that come back year after year and people enjoy. So if you've already been coming out to them, you know how fun they can be. If you've only heard about them and are curious, this next movie coming up on Tuesday, June 1st. Yes, Tuesday, June 1st. Is going to be City of the Dead from 1960, starring Christopher Lee himself,
Oh my god.
Saruman, and many of Draculas from the Hammer horror films of the 60s.
What was the first Christopher Lee? What was the first thing you ever remember seeing Christopher Lee in?
Sleepy Hollow.
Really?
Yep.
Nice. Okay.
He's the judge in Sleepy
Yeah.
Hollow.
Longtime collaborator of Tim Burton. Julie, I'm curious about talking about this movie with you because I feel like you might like to talk about the influence that this movie has on Tim Burton.
Well, Tim Burton being one of my favorites, of course, for sure. He pulled his inspiration from so many films, especially Vincent Price films, of
Yep.
course.
Which again are a staple of our series.
Yes, staple. And God rest his soul. But really, I was kind of I was thinking of Tim Burton a lot, but I was also thinking we never showed Suspiria in the theater, and I
Yeah.
was
Oh, the
thinking-
remake.
The new one
the
from
new
Luca
one.
Guadagnino.
and with Dakota Johnson and Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
God,
We-
that movie.
We kept showing the trailer.
Nice.
Todd and I would not stop
Yeah,
showing
because
the
we
trailer.
wanted it so bad.
Can we
Wanted
like?
it so
Can we like
bad.
start showing the trailer
Well,
again?
yes, our
Okay.
former programmer just would not flip it in there. We were just like, hit. Come So this actually, I don't know. We can really deep dive in it because this movie is just like every other good, bad 1960s horror film.
It's a great, good, bad.
It is,
1960s
dude. It
horror
really is. It really is.
Yeah, I think as far as like a lot of the movies in this series, like when I put this series together, I did try to choose stuff that was going to be both cheesy and fun, but also like gothic and dark, and so that you would get all those elements together. I think this one is I think one of the best of the series.
Absolutely.
I think I would rank it up there with Night of the Living Dead, which we will show later. It's up there with the Vincent Price movies.
Yeah.
And one of the funny things about this movie is that it's actually a completely British movie. So most of the actors are British, but they're all
playing
Americans with American accents.
And they're using that transatlantic accent.
Yeah.
Do you all?
Oh, yeah.
Are y'all familiar with that? What
Yes,
that is?
like
Los
Like
Angeles.
Cary Grant.
I'm a newspaper man.
We are going to Los Angeles.
Listen,
Listen,
honey.
listen, honey.
Why
Watch
aren't you
it
giving
jump
me a
back.
coffee right now? I'm a newspaper man.
Pour me that martini,
Yeah.
dear.
What-
Yes.
One of the strangest places of transatlantic accent is actually in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh God,
Dr. Haywood Floyd.
Yes.
When he goes to the moon base.
Yeah, so there's
Listen, Space. Why aren't you fixing me a martini right now?
there's a lot of that in
lot of
this.
transatlantic
Yes,
accents.
Yeah, it's
Quite a-
all
quite a few,
transatlantic.
quite a few.
I'm pretty sure everyone in this film is dead right now.
Yeah.
Most
which
likely.
which is ironic. But just it has a lot of Psycho influence.
Yeah.
Oh,
It has a
I was
lot
gonna.
of
I was gonna talk
I
about
mean,
Psycho.
Night
yeah.
of the Living Dead,
Yeah.
Psycho. I mean,
What's
just-
interesting about it too is that this movie would have come out in 1960, which is the same year that the movie Psycho comes out.
Right.
So it
right,
probably got
right.
inspiration from the
From
book,
the book.
From the
rather
book.
rather
Yeah.
than Alfred Hitchcock's movie
Absolutely.
adaptation.
Did the book version of Psycho have the same?
Structure?
Yeah.
That's I actually don't know for sure, but I'm
Okay.
guessing because the biggest influence I see is the fact that both stories, the main female character dies.
Yeah. About a half an hour into
yeah.
the movie. Yeah.
Yeah,
The moment it happened, I was like, oh, 1960.
60, yeah.
1960. There we go.
1960.
Which again would have been shocking to audiences at the time. Of
Oh,
like,
Totally.
what?
What do you mean I can't smoke on this airplane?
Her hair is the same.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
The outfit's
Oh,
the
God,
same.
it's- yeah,
the shots
yeah.
are the. I mean, it's just like.
Yeah.
And it's a knife going down
Oh, into
and
a
then a
cake.
cut. Like
Like-
it's everything.
It's
So many good
fun.
shots. So many
Really.
good money shots.
And
Oh,
the whole female thing. That's where I was going with Suspiria. Really, it was
Right,
just like this
right,
whole like witchy
Yeah,
Suspiria
covens
coven, thing. That's
Yeah.
it's an awesome theme. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
To-
it just
yeah.
is.
To
It's
give
timeless.
a quick rundown of what the movie's about, a young college student, she's studying the history of witchcraft in New England.
Of course she is.
And her professor, she wants to go write her paper and find the oldest, smallest town in New England to
Yeah.
really study what
Salem?
happened
Could that
to
be- yeah.
And so her professor recommends her to visit the small town of Whitewood.
Oh,
Right.
wonderful.
Dude,
And of course, bad things ensue.
but before she goes
The
there,
witches are real.
before she leaves to go on the trip, she's like telling her boyfriend like, I'm going on the trip, and he instantly starts pouting in a way that like I'm like, you couldn't do this in 2020 because he's pathetic.
Yeah,
Right,
and she's
right.
like, I'm going. And
And he's
like,
literally like, well, what do you mean you're going? You can't drive.
By
You're a
yourself?
woman.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I don't know.
You're going by
Did
yourself?
you see Midsummer? I
Yeah.
feel like the boyfriend in that movie was kind of similar.
he was pretty pouty. But this guy was almost like what? You can't drive or think or do anything really special, can you?
You,
Like,
And
you
you
take
need
your
to cook
studies
with
all too seriously.
yeah. What do you expect to do? Learn something?
and who's going to cook dinner for me?
Yeah, totally. Well, I guess you could make sandwiches while you're driving.
The great thing about it too is like when he's doing this, then Christopher Lee, as the professor in the class, goes, Maitland, I hoped that you would take this subject seriously and interest in science.
And
That will be all.
he's trying so hard not to be the theater Christopher Lee.
He
the,
really is.
And is he knighted?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got it.
Okay. So he isn't, and then he's just like, oh wait, horror film.
Yeah.
Which are like
okay.
both his wheelhouse because I think he had already played Dracula by this time in the early
yes.
Hammer horror films.
Okay,
Yeah.
need to rewatch that one.
Yeah.
Dracula. It's all about Dracula 74. Dracula 71. The one he did with
It's-
Jess Franco.
It's one of those. I forget
Yeah,
which one,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's like this isn't like Christopher Lee hadn't quite established himself as like one of the premier faces
Yeah.
of horror films at the time, but
Right.
he was sort of like on a rising.
Yeah,
He
he wasn't an icon quite.
Yeah,
yet.
but he was on an ascension.
Yeah.
Like he was definitely like if you were a genre fan, you recognize Christopher Lee as a genre player for sure at this point. But yeah, I think he'd done one Dracula beforehand. There's a line in this movie that I don't know if you either are that familiar with Rob Zombie's music.
a little bit.
More his films, but
Got it. So, but Rob Zombie's biggest song, Dracula,
Oh yeah, on Hellbilly Deluxe.
on Hellbilly
right?
Deluxe,
Okay.
samples a line from this movie.
Oh damn. All right.
It's one of Christopher Lee's first lines in this movie where he says superstition, fear, and jealousy, and that line is specifically
All right.
Rob Zombie sampled that, and that's in the intro of the song.
now that's it's weird.
That's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
that and I'm sure there are some people who would recognize that because Vincent Price gets sampled
yeah, all
a
the
lot
time.
in a lot of things, and a lot of people don't know that he's the voice in the Thriller,
Right. Yeah, that's right.
video and song. But he has a more recognizable voice, I think.
Definitely,
Vincent Price
definitely.
does. And I'm just, I kind of I was thinking if Vincent Price was Christopher Lee's character in this, would it have been a better film?
It would have been different, but
Different.
I think it definitely could have worked if it was Vincent Price, but it would have been a different kind of movie.
Mhm.
Because they each have their own kind of personas that can be camp in their own unique ways. But again, like the mention of that line being sampled by Rob Zombie, I feel like again it's a good example of how this movie and a lot of the movies that we're doing for this series are big influences not only on filmmakers but musicians. There's a lot of people who call back to this specific era of the horror films.
Right,
that I think
right,
has a big influence on people.
Well, it's a large cast, and it's a lot of women, and women back and then for sure. I mean, women are still fighting for roles and for good. Black and white makes everyone look amazing.
Yeah, everyone looks beautiful. in
It's
this movie.
beautiful in this film. It's beautifully shot. That's really
So
what
many
I
good
took.
shadows and
Oh my god! I mean, just the way things were shot back then. It's just so different.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
The fog.
with so many female characters in the
fog.
movie, like there's horror films when utilized and weaponized correctly can really be used well as great metaphors for either female empowerment or to comment on female oppression and the way that women's bodies are used by
Oh,
the
for
systems
sure.
and the way that women are specifically thrown into specific roles. And so I think this is a great movie again about how you can definitely say that this is a metaphor for the way that society treats women.
Yeah,
in this movie.
And let's talk about how the role of the witch has changed as well. Okay, because back then, there's just some films that are just the witches are evil, kill children,
Yeah,
and we've come
yeah.
so far with that witch role.
Yeah.
With the Good Witches and Sabrina the Witch, and
Totally.
I mean, just
It's interesting too how this movie it begins with this idea of these witches were burned at the stake because of superstition, fear, and jealousy. But then the movie kind of doubles down at the end, saying like these are actually real witches who did worship Lucifer, because you got to have some evil in a horror film like
of
this.
course,
sure.
of course.
But it's funny how like the movie still wants to kind of have its cake and eat it too, and be like, well, of course, in reality, witches were just women who were persecuted for being women.
Yeah.
But also, we're still going to use this as fodder for an
I
evil.
I wasn't
monster.
sure if the movie was trying to say that when she got burned in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
whether she basically sold her soul to Satan while getting burned for no reason on the stake,
I believe
or whether
so.
she already was a witch before
Uh,
getting burned.
Maybe she was already a witch.
I
Because several of the witches' coven that are the main antagonists of the movie are there in that prologue. Like they're all featured in the townsfolk, and so like I think there's an implication that the coven was already practicing in 1692, and then when they sold their souls, they received immortality and continue to practice into the modern age.
So what are we
yeah,
supposed to be
yeah.
afraid of in this film?
Well, to me, the thing that I really liked was that when she was getting burnt, her buddy that was standing there watching her get burnt, while he was praying to Satan, he was like, "Yo, if I don't do what you say one time, you get my soul
That's
for
right,
all
yeah.
of eternity." And then they fuck up one time, and it all
That's
and
it.
then they're done.
And they all
That's
get
it.
burned. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, those dumb women.
Yeah. So it was. Yeah. It was. There was an issue of like be careful what you wish for a
Yeah.
little bit. It reminded me of the inverse of the movie The Witch, because like the thing that I respect about that movie so much, and it kind of connected to me with City of the Dead, is that even though the ending spoilers.
Is that Anya Taylor?
Yeah, Anya Taylor.
Okay,
Johnson.
thank you.
Yeah.
Even though the ending of that movie is basically her becoming a
Yeah,
witch,
accepting it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's also done triumphantly.
Mhm.
Like that's a happy ending.
Yeah, she won.
Yeah,
wins in the
she
end.
wins because she decides to live deliciously. And so in a way it was like, oh yeah, here's 1960s version of that is like, try not to live deliciously, women, because
I mean, one of the fun things too I want
Yeah.
to mention is like the costume in this movie. Everyone's looking really hot.
Really,
like everyone's
yeah.
looking
Real
real
good.
good the
Yeah.
whole time.
Yeah.
And like I think there's this
Like,
idea.
come on. You
I
know?
mean, like she like when like she's like studying and then she decides to take off her robe to like she's like wearing this like lingerie. That's like,
Yeah,
oh, that's
yeah.
what you're relaxing in.
yeah, really. That takes me back to All About Eve. That takes me
Yeah.
back to every Marilyn Monroe film
Right,
Sure.
where she looks
right.
freaking perfect,
Right.
and you're like, come on.
Yeah.
Why-
Yeah.
Even in
When she's
like,
studying.
and Elizabeth Taylor, too. Yeah, I mean, like when you're studying, like their hair was perfect, their
Mhm.
makeup
Yeah.
was perfect. It's like, no.
I
It's-
will say, to
yeah.
some extent, this is a great inspiration for drag routines.
Oh,
Sure, yeah.
I bet it would be perfect.
Cult of Tuck could do a whole show that's just based off of City of the Dead.
Just City of the Dead, absolutely.
We come out in like monks' robes that are all dark, and
Yeah.
we pull them off, and we got all our like witches' lingerie underneath.
Dude, that can we talk about
Yeah.
that? How toward the end when they were down in the basement,
Yeah.
and all the monks are standing there in the robes, and then their hands are under the robes, and then they come out of the robes, and then just go, "Ooh." Like it was like, oh wow, that was literally just a shot of hands.
Hands.
It's like, I don't know,
And yet it's
it
terrifying.
was like,
So-
yeah, it was creepy as hell.
Were there things in the 60s, 50s and 60s, and even maybe early 70s that they weren't allowed to show
yeah, there were
in
certain
horror
things.
films?
Lion shots were not.
No.
Yeah, I mean
Approved,
general nudity.
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
Psycho's famous for like showing the first toilet on screen. I think.
yeah, first ever
Yeah,
toilet.
there are definitely things like that.
Yeah.
Because
we
you
should
know,
actually.
well,
Are we
yeah,
there?
we'll
Are we
we'll
there
start to
We're
yeah.
we're getting towards the
We're
end.
yeah, because you know we think about we've mentioned Rob Zombie and how some of his films are unwatchable. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I
I'm-
will
I'm-
admit I'm not the biggest Rob Zombie.
Okay,
fan.
and Hostel, the Hostel guy.
Eli Roth.
Roth.
Yeah,
Eli Roth.
I think
his
Eli
films-
Roth is a guy who got horror films wrong
You
and
know-
doesn't understand what makes them great.
Yeah, and
You
some
know-
of the horror films have gone. We could go down a whole rabbit hole on horror films,
Totally.
and we should sometime.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, just how like from that to that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, because I will say I like this movie, City of the Dead, and a lot of the other ones we're showing because I love tone and atmosphere.
Yeah,
That's sometimes
yeah,
what I want most
yeah.
in a horror film. It's just good tone and atmosphere.
Mhm.
And if it's because I don't think necessarily a horror film has to be scary to be a great horror film. I also don't think it has to be violent to be a great horror film.
Whoa, I did not realize that was still up there. Holy shit. Did you?
Well, That's okay.
I knew it
There's
was
a-
there.
Oh,
you did.
okay. I had no idea.
Anyway, I agree with you. Like, what if, like, watching it with all the lights off, you know?
Yeah,
late
yeah.
at night.
And the kids, I know that my kids would be like completely freaked out.
Yeah,
definitely,
obviously.
definitely.
Dude, when the priest is
the
like,
blind priest.
yeah, when he's like, leave, go away,
Leave,
and then
white
just
wood
backs,
into
just
the
backs
dark.
into the darkness, and you're like, you try that in 2021, and you'd get laughed out of the theater, but
like
this
to me,
is done
that's
beautifully.
yeah,
Oh,
that is a sense of fun that I
Yeah.
think, like a lot of horror films forget that like you can have fun in horror films.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
and it doesn't have to be like serious and like yeah, you don't have to be straight faced. Like you can
Right.
kind of like wink to the camera and like that's fun.
Jared, what was the last film that truly, truly scared you?
You know, the last genuinely frightening movie I think I saw was last year there was this movie called Alone that came out, and it's a woman driving over the pass from Central Oregon to Portland, and she gets
Perfect.
chased by someone. And there was 3 or 4 sequences in that movie that really got under my skin because you're like, oh, you're in government camp right now and you're getting chased.
I mean, the pass is scary enough to drive.
Yeah. That
Okay.
really got
Todd?
under my skin.
Last horror film that like really truly scared me. Maybe Hereditary. That's just because I loved that movie so much.
Yeah.
And like I was sort of in the mood to just be like I want to see something insane.
Right.
Yeah, that might be the last one that like really scared me.
How about you?
I mean, horror films don't scare me in general, you know.
Uh-huh.
I think because I've seen so many, and I know, they don't scare me.
Right.
There's other like psychological thrillers that scare me more.
Right.
But The Ring really got me,
Mm.
and I saw it in the
yeah.
theater, and there wasn't a lot of people. 'Cause I
Right,
saw
right.
it at kind of the last, and it actually like really, I was like, oh my god.
Right.
Because I've been scared. Like I told you
Right,
my whole
right.
Blair Witch experience.
Yeah,
But The Ring, when she came out of the TV,
Right.
no one had ever really done that before.
No, it's a
especially because
jaw-dropper.
like by script structure, the movie was done. The third act was over.
Yeah,
like, it's
Totally.
a ending on an ending.
And I mean that when that got me. So
I'll say the older I get, I get less scared and more like if a movie has imagery in it that is super like
Unsettling.
oh my god, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And I will say the last movie that did that to me was the remake of Suspiria.
okay.
There's imagery in that movie that'll stick with me for the rest of my
Okay.
life.
Hello.
Just genuinely.
We all recommend that you go
We
see.
need to see it. I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon.
Tilda Swinton's
Um,
terrible in that movie.
Okay, I love her.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Terrible.
we need to wrap this up.
Yeah,
However, what was I going to
What's the last thing you want to say, Julie?
Hey, you filmmakers out there who are making horror films,
Yeah.
do something in 3D, please.
Like a good
3D.
a good 3D horror movie.
3D.
That doesn't rely
3D.
on shit flying at your face.
Oh no, it needs to fly.
It needs
at
to
your
fly at your face, like
and it needs to
Friday
be
the
shot
13th
only
3D.
at IMAX
Right.
or watched in IMAX.
Right.
In 3D.
That would be
Although I
nice.
don't think the two should necessarily mix. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me. But 3D horror film and really
Yeah.
scary and like
Yeah,
I can't remember
it's
the
probably
last one.
I don't
been
know.
experimented with, but just nothing has really like hit the nerve yet.
yeah.
Well, did you guys see My Bloody Valentine 3D when that came out?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty close.
And it was like axes flying
Axes
at your
coming
face.
at you.
Yeah,
that was pretty
that
close
whole-
actually. Yeah, you're right. Piranha in 3D. Sorry.
That was
Ooh.
super fun.
I know.
That's fun.
It
Yeah.
was Piranha 3 Double D.
D.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
the
was
best.
great.
That
That was a
best.
lot of fun. That was
Oh,
that was a
so
good
much
time
fun.
in the theater.
That sure was.
Yeah.
All
was
right.
Well, everyone, we really encourage you to come out and see City of the Dead. We
It's
think it's a lot of
blast.
fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Come out.
again, when you come outside, we will serve you beer and popcorn and candy. And
Bring some food with you if you want.
Bring
and-
some takeout food. We got the fire table. We borrow San Simone's fire tables because they're such great neighbors that we get to use their fire
Love them.
tables.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we think it's a great time. We really encourage you to come out, and if you enjoy it, you can come out for more B horror films on Tuesday nights. Oh, and also the Godzilla movies on Thursday nights.
Yes, of course, those. And we're going to have a great summer, everybody in Bend, Oregon, and beyond.
Yes.
And as always, we love the summer, of course, but we always look forward to fall because
Oh yeah.
that's when we get cozy and get back in the theater and show some good stuff. And hopefully by then we won't be wearing masks, but you never know.
Yeah.
So we'll
Never
see.
know.
I'm fully vaccinated.
I am too.
I get my
Woo.
second shot tomorrow.
Nice.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Come by the theater. Go look at the website to see what's playing. I don't know. Usually we promo stuff at this point, but I feel like we've talked a lot about what's going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, come out on Tuesday. We hope to see you there. This is now the Tin Pan Podcast. We're officially calling it
Yeah.
from now on.
The small town film ghosts have
Yeah. Bye, small town film goes.
they have crossed the Rainbow Bridge.
We finally set them free. They did the task that they needed to do.
Yes,
They were
Yeah.
sticking around
They
because
did.
they had unfinished business,
Yeah.
but
Yes, they did.
It's the business is finished.
Yeah.
we can finally just be Tin Pan Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm Julie Furnace.
I'm Todd Leiser.
Jade Rasic.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you next time.
Vigos balls.